Jocko, regarding mistakes, what are some of your own and some you've seen made by leaders you've looked up to, and how to recover? Can someone ever fully regain trust?
This is actually a pretty easy one because, look, if you make a mistake, own it. The worst thing you can do if you make a mistake is try and avoid taking blame for it. That's the worst thing you can do. And if you think about the bosses that you've had, and you had some boss that made a mistake and he's like, no, it wasn't my fault, you just totally lose respect for him. So you can't do that. You got to take ownership of it. Because if you think about the bosses that you've had and the times that you had a boss that made excuses, you don't have any mercy on them. You're just ruthless on them. Mm-hmm. You just pick them apart. Mm-hmm. So that's step number one is, take ownership if you make a mistake. And that's how it's always seemed to me from as I looked up the chain of command. If I saw a guy that made mistakes and then he took ownership of them, I'm like, okay, cool. The guy's, he knows he made a mistake. Cool. We'll support him. If they're doing the other thing and they're blaming everybody else, they're not taking ownership, you're going to have a hard time with it. And as a matter of fact, I actually had a mutiny in one of my platoons where this is a long time ago. It's, all the names are long since forgotten, but we had a mutiny in our platoon where we said, pretty much us lower enlisted guys, we literally went to the commanding officer and said, we don't want to work with this guy.
Dang.
Yeah. So, all these ideas that people have of the, military and of, we obey orders and all this stuff. I mean, think of what a little jackass I was. We said, well, you know what? We don't want to work for this guy. We're going to go to the commanding officer and tell him we don't want to work for this guy. Mm-hmm. And the commanding officer, to his full credit, he was like, listen, guys, you can't have a mutiny. Not at my command, not at my team. You guys suck it up. You figured out a way to work it out. Go do what you're told. Get in line.
Oh, so the mutiny didn't work.
And then he fired the guy. Yeah. No, but he basically made it perfectly clear, this is your one chance. And he fired him.
Dang.
But it was pretty crazy to see it happen. But, and I say this all the time, it wasn't because the guy lacked tactical skill. It wasn't because he wasn't physically fit. Most of the reason was because he just couldn't take anyone's advice. He wouldn't listen to anybody. And so when he was making a mistake, it was like, no, we'll do it this way. No, it's okay. Constant cover up for himself. And obviously it didn't work out for him.
So your mutiny sort of just put him on notice. That was his write up essentially.
Yeah, but I think the commanding officer, was really just doing the right thing, saying, look, guys, you can't have a mutiny. Doesn't work that way. This is the military.
Right.
Get back in there. Do what you're supposed to do. And then he was like, okay, I got to fire this guy because he must not be good to have every enlisted guy in the platoon come forward and say, I don't want to work with this guy.
Yeah.
That's not a good sign. Yeah. So the commanding officer did an outstanding job, and he was actually a great commanding officer too.
So it kind of worked on the DL, kind of.
It worked on the DL, I guess, as Echo would say. And then the guy that took over was one of the best guys I ever worked for, if not the best.
Dang.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. And then as far as regaining trust, which is the other part of the question, it's almost as soon as you admit that you made a mistake, you are automatically regaining trust. That's where you start regaining trust.
Yeah.
And it just goes from there. Then you follow through with what you say. You're constantly trying to build trust in relationships. That's what you're trying to do. And the minute you're lying to people, how are you building trust?
Right.
And if you make a mistake and you say it's not your fault, then that's a lie, and everyone knows it.
Yeah, that fear is, not especially, but in regards to regaining trust, so to speak. When someone admits mistakes, they have that fear that, they're going to think I don't know what I'm doing, or I don't have a handle on this,
So doesn't matter. So doesn't matter. It's so much better to go, hey guys, I don't really know how to do this. Can you show me how to do this? I'm not sure. I've never done this before.
Right.
Or, hey, I've never used this kind of weapon before. Can you give me an indoc on this thing?
Right.
The worst thing you can do is step up to the line with a weapon you've never used before and not know how to lock and load it or clear and safe it and look like a total idiot. Because then you look like a guy that is too arrogant and too insecure to ask.
Yeah.
It's actually a sign of insecurity if you can't ask when you need some help with something.
Yeah, and it's funny how when people are in that position, and all kind of just, this is kind of a general thing to know, is that you come off way more transparent than you think. You know how people will, like, I don't know, something just as small as like name dropping. If you name drop someone, right, even, or you just mention this person's name, but you're really name dropping, even in a small way.
Yeah.
Like, people can smell that.
Yeah.
So even like this stuff that's a little bit more important, where if a leader's insecure about something, or want to make like he knows everything, but he really doesn't.
I hate when I do stuff like that.
I know, but
I hate when I do stuff like that. I'm like, oh God, I'm such a loser.
Right there. And it's transparent. Everyone knows it, and a lot of people, bro, they're not in touch with that. They think that, oh yeah, they don't know because I'm just gonna sort of mention it, and there's all these little things that it's just, you just reek of.
Yeah.
And I don't want to put it like that. I'll just say, like I said, you're way more transparent than you think.
Yeah.
You know?
And transparent in this day and age actually has a positive connotation. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah.
But people view, oh, he's a really transparent guy. You know,
Right.
he really just tells you what's going on.
If you're deliberately
and
transparent.
you're using it in a negative way, saying,
Right.
look, people can see right through your
Yes.
BS.
Yeah.
all
When
day
you're not
long.
trying to be transparent.
Right. There's a big difference there.
Yeah,
and totally true. But it is definitely better just to, ask and say, hey, I don't know. That insecurity, the when you don't feel like asking something, that's a little knock at your door that says, oh, you're insecure. You're insecure.
Yeah.
When you're like, hey, you know what? I don't know how to do this. Can you give me a hand with this? Or hey, I'm stuck on this problem here. Can you give me help with this? Because I don't know how to do it. Mm-hmm. People don't say, oh, this guy's an idiot, unless you're doing it every 3 sentences, because that means you haven't studied.
Yeah.
Because you got to study, you got to know your trade, you got to know your craft. And if you don't, you got to learn it.
Yeah.
You got to break out the books and get on it. But once you've broken out the books and now there's a little bit of stuff that you still don't understand, well, guess what? Just ask the question.
Yeah.
Because your frontline troopers are going to know more than you. They should know more than you.
Yeah.
It's highly likely that they don't know more than you. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was a radioman for 8 years in the SEAL teams, and by the time I was a lieutenant commander in a troop, I didn't know as much as those, guys knew about all the new radios and stuff. So I just had to ask a question. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
If you're secure in your leadership, you're fine to ask a couple questions. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
But you are not clear to lie to people. You're not clear to make excuses. And that's how you regain the trust, is by telling people the truth. It's really a simple concept.
Yeah.